Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the Golden Era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I'd like to continue the video series on the Silver Era icon and legend Reg Park and look at the changes he made in 1950 to his shoulder routine after he won the 1949 Mr. Britain competition. In this series I've covered every body part, arms, chest, back and legs, and documented the changes that Reg Park made to his routines after traveling to the US after his Mr. Britain win and after learning from the American Silver Era Bodybuilding legends. I feel, however, out of all the information I have read, the particular information regarding the techniques and exercises that Reg Park learned in regards to shoulder training could fill a small book. They are that good, and today I'd like to share and list some of those techniques and exercises he observed and adopted to his own routine, which led to this phenomenal physique. Just look at Reg Park standing in this relaxed pose. Just stare at it for a moment and admire. I mean, the guy looks like a bronze statue with those perfectly capped deltoids. It's just amazing. And I really hope that you enjoy this video today. In the recent article I read about the changes Reg made to his shoulder routine, Reg starts off by talking about his obsession in wanting manly, masculine and powerful looking shoulders and how he admired the physiques of his heroes. Now, I've talked about his idol 1946 Mr. New York City Vic Nicoletti, but he singles out in particular the physiques of British champion, that is the British weightlifting heavyweight champion Ronald Walker, as well as the Russian lion George Hackenschmidt for their amazing shoulder development. Here we have Ronald Walker in a fantastic, hands clasped behind the head pose. We can't really appreciate his shoulder development here, but we can appreciate his phenomenal physique. Now here we have two photos. On the left we have Ronald Walker, heavyweight lifting champion, British champion, and we can really appreciate his shoulder development here. Of course Reg Park would have admired. I mean, I admire this, and this is well over probably almost 100 years old, these photos, when Ronald Walker was dominating the British competitions between 1931 to 1937. And of course on the right we have George Hackenschmidt, the Russian lion. Both of these men had fantastic shoulder development for that era. In the article itself, Reg Park talks about how in the beginning of his training he paid so much attention to his delts, especially being motivated by his heroes. And here we have, for example, his Mr. Britain routine from 1949, where in the afternoons he would train upper body and in particular would focus on heavy standing presses. He actually continued doing heavy standing presses throughout his whole career, as it added so much to his shoulder development. And of course he would use 6 to 10 reps per set using very, very heavy weight. And after he won the Mr. Britain competition, of course in 1949, he arrived in America and visited Joe Wader, as well as training with many of the US bodybuilding Silver Era legends at the Terrazzo gym in New York. It is said that Reg Park trained with almost every single Silver Era legend in the US, and he picked up many different techniques and exercises from each. For example, from Clarence Ross, he watched Clarence Ross use 160-pound dumbbells on the incline bench press, and Clarence Ross, having this incredible strength, was able to develop massive deltoids, of course, and massive upper body, and his deltoids would actually tie in beautifully to his massive pecs, and he attributes this wonderful delt to pec tie-in to the incline bench press. So that was one technique that he learnt from Clarence Ross. Dips was a favorite of one of his idols, Vic Nicoletti, and Vic mentioned that it was excellent for bringing out the anterior head of the deltoid, as you can clearly see in this triceps shot here on the right of Vic Nicoletti, one of Reg Park's idol, and it also brought out the striations in his deltoid. Now the one we're going to talk about though is Floyd Page's particular peak contraction principle, which kind of is very similar to time under tension. And he also picked up, by the way, from Norman Marks that using the chin up one could develop fantastic rear delt development. But in particular, the one exercise and technique we're going to talk about today is Floyd Page's peak contraction principle, as I mentioned, which is very similar to today's or equivalent to today's principle of time under tension. Now, one of the best movements that I would like to share with you today that I read from the article is Floyd Page's delt raise, and it really is just a series of movements combined together. And the application of the peak contraction principle is so obvious here because you are moving, in this case, dumbbells over a series of motions without bringing the weight down. So it really fries your deltoids, right? And as I said, it's just a combination of movements, and I'll just describe it now. So basically, you stand erect with the dumbbells held at the sides of your body, and you raise the weight from the sides of your body overhead. Bring them all the way up overhead. You lower the weights to the side at shoulder height. So it basically ends up looking like a crucifix. But instead of bringing the weights now overhead as you would in a crucifix, now you move the weights to the front of your body, as if you've basically kind of like punched someone in front of your body. And at this point, you perform 3 alternate front raises, bringing, for example, the dumbbell down to your thighs and then back to shoulder height, and alternating, and you alternate the front raises 3 times for each arm. And then that's the end of the movement. So you're basically doing, as you can see, several movements, about I guess about 9 movements in total in Floyd Page's particular delt raise movement. And you repeat this whole series of movements for 3 minutes. Can you imagine doing these series of delt raises for 3 minutes? It's just incredible time under tension, and it's a fantastic movement developed by Floyd Page, the Floyd Page delt raise. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Reg Park's principles of training, I highly recommend purchasing Strength and Bulk Training for Weightlifters and Bodybuilders and How to Build Bigger Arms, both by Reg Park. Both titles available on my website, www.goldenerabookworm.com. Now, as always, in this series that I've done on Reg Park, because we have such well documented images and information on Reg Park, it's very easy to do comparison shots. And here again, we have a seated, I guess, front lat spread from Reg Park from 1949 after he won the Mr. Britain competition. And we can compare it to the after shot here a year later after he was in the US in 1950, and we can clearly see, at least with the deltoids, that at least it appears that he really did develop those deltoids. I mean, you got these wonderful capped deltoids in the 1950 shot, so it definitely looks like he improved his deltoid development with all these different movements that he learned from these Silver Era legends. But of course, that is my own observation, and I provide these images for your own judgment and for you guys to just, I guess, comment and look for yourselves. But I reckon he did awesome in developing his deltoids. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed watching this video and this series on Reg Park's 1950s routines. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't to the Golden Era Bookworm, leave me a comment, and thank you for watching. If you'd like to support my work, please donate via PayPal or become a patron. And as mentioned earlier, you can purchase old school courses and books on bodybuilding from my website, www.goldenerabookworm.com. Hope you enjoyed the video. That's it for me. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Bye for now.
Hi everybody, I just want to recommend this phenomenal book, Vince's Secret Locker, volume number 2 by Carl Coyne. I've been looking at this for about 4 weeks and I can't put it down. If you get a chance, check it out. He also has a part 1 that I highly recommend also. Vince was the trainer to the stars and had an amazing, interesting gym that today there's still not equipment like it around. It was all made out of wood. He'll be on our radio show coming up probably in the next couple weeks or so. Have a great day, and again, highly recommend this book.